In this video, we're going to get a Raspberry Pi up and running from scratch. We need a Raspberry Pi, a case, and a power supply. I've got a Raspberry Pi 5, a flirt case, and an official Raspberry Pi power supply unit. Start by taking the Raspberry Pi and its case out of their respective boxes. The case is going to come with some screws and some thermal pads. Attach the thermal pad to the exposed processor of the Raspberry Pi. The Pi 5 comes with a power button. Align the power button to the case to its correct position. Then align the board with the case, put the cover in place, and secure it with the screws provided. The next step is to install Pi OS on a microSD card. Insert a microSD card into your computer. Launch the Raspberry Pi imager. Select the model of your Raspberry Pi. In this case, it's the Raspberry Pi 5. Select the operating system that you want to install. In this case, we're going to go with the 64-bit version of Pi OS. Ensure that you select the microSD card as the device that you want to flash. Edit the customization settings. Here, you'll specify a host name for your Pi and a Wi-Fi SSID and password. You'll also want to turn on Secure Shell access with password authentication. Set the installer to logically eject the media when finished. Select Yes to apply the customization settings, and then proceed to flash the microSD card. The imager will flash Pi OS to the microSD card. This is going to take a few minutes. Once done, take the microSD card out of your computer and insert it into your Raspberry Pi. Connect the Raspberry Pi to a power source and power it on. We're going to need to locate the Pi on our network. To do this, once the Pi powers up and comes online, ping it with the command ping Raspberry Pi or your given hostname .local. Once the Pi comes online, you'll see the IP address from where pingbacks are coming back. Then secure shell into your Pi. The first time that you do this, you'll get a notification about establishing the authenticity of the host. This is normal. Type in yes and continue logging in by entering your Pi's password. Once logged in, we're going to enable VNC so that we can access our Pi's GUI. To do this, run sudo raspi-config. Choose the third option to select interface options and then enable VNC. Save and exit out of the Raspi config tool. Now let's set up our VNC client. To do this, launch your VNC client and set up a new connection. Specify your server as Raspberry Pi or your given hostname .local and give it an easy to remember name. Leave the rest of the configuration to its defaults and save the configuration. Now right-click on the connection that you just created and select Connect. You'll get a warning for the first time, after which you'll need to enter your username and password for the Pi. You may like to select the option to remember the login details. You'll now be able to log into your Pi's GUI. Next, we need to apply the latest Pi OS updates. Coming back to the terminal, do a sudo apt update, followed by sudo apt upgrade-y. The upgrade process typically takes a while, so it's a good time to go get a beverage. Once done, reboot your Pi. Last but not least, we need to make an address reservation for our Raspberry Pi on our home network. This will give it a fixed IP address, and you won't have to hunt around for it every time you power cycle the device. To do this, we need to find the MAC address of our Pi. Secure shell into the Pi and enter the command ifconfig. The MAC address will be displayed along with the network adapter details. Note the MAC address of the device. Then log into your home router. This is a bit different for every router model, but the fundamentals are the same. Go to the DHCP reservation options and map the MAC address to an IP address that you would like your Pi to have. Once you've saved this option, your Raspberry Pi will always have that IP address every time it logs onto your network. Reboot your Pi and ping it with its host name, in our case, Raspberry Pi.local. This time, you'll see the device on the network with the address that you reserved for it. Congratulations! You now have a fully functional and configured Raspberry Pi with a reserved network address.